Thank you, choir. Good morning, everyone. I am the Reverend Justine Sullivan. My pronouns are she and her, and I have the honor of serving as your lead minister during this developmental time. And I also have the honor of introducing our guest preacher this morning, President of our Unitarian Universalist Association, the Reverend Dr. Sofia Betancourt. I was talking with Sofia a few weeks ago, and I expressed my gratitude that she agreed to come and be with us today. And she said, "Didn't I ask you to come there?" Cool people want to be with you. So we will be hearing from Reverend Sofia in a bit, but I wanted to explain her presence here on our chancel. And I would love to extend a special welcome also to those of you watching from out on the patio or from your homes. And we also want to welcome our siblings at South Bay and from our sibling congregation at Summit UU Fellowship in Santee, and maybe we'll get to see them on the screen. And also welcome to you gathered here in Hillcrest. And if you are visiting with us for the first time, lucky you. What a good day you picked to be here for the first time. We invite you to fill out the welcome card that you'll find in your order of service.
Buenos días, soy la Reverenda Kristen Carriga y uso el pronombre ella. Una bienvenida muy especial a todos que están con nosotros por primera vez. Les extendemos la invitación de rellenar el formulario en el orden de servicio.
Our community is a vital, diverse, multi-generational congregation without borders, with a mission to create community, nurture spiritual growth, and act on our values to help heal the world.
Somos una congregación compuesta de personas de distintas identidades racializadas y culturas, personas de diversas orientaciones sexuales y identidades de género, personas de varias habilidades mentales y físicas.
We are creators of community and compassion, and though we can fall short, we are committed to practicing an affirming welcome to all.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Try it again and say, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
We invite you to please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing our gathering hymn, When Our Heart Is in a Holy Place. 1, 2,
On this day, we acknowledge Transgender Day of Remembrance, a time when we honor those killed because of their gender identity and expression. But the story of our transgender beloveds is not only about suffering or victimhood. It is also a story of courage and resilience, hope and solidarity. As we light our chalice this morning, let us be reminded of the divine spark that dwells within all of our transgender beloveds. And let us call to mind the courageous voices of those who will not be silenced. In a spirit of reverence, we acknowledge that we gather this morning on the land of the Kumeyaay, who continue to live throughout their territories. May the light of this candle shine for our commitment to the Kumeyaay people and to justice and equity for Indigenous people everywhere.
Con espíritu de reverencia, reconocemos que nos juntamos esta mañana en la tierra de los Kumeyaay, quienes continúan viviendo en todo su territorio. Al emprender este viaje juntos, mantengamos en nuestros corazones y mentes el pueblo Kumeyaay.
Y'all sang so beautifully just a moment ago. I'd like to invite you to rise once more as body and spirit allow, and join us in singing our church hymn and saying our aspiration. One, two,
Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
I would like to invite any of the children and youth and UUA presidents to join me on the chancel for our time for all ages. And we're going to put you all in the middle. I'm going to sit over here. Come on up. Hi. You want to sit in between us? Come on over this side. There you go. Good morning. Come on over in here. Hi. You can sit next to me, or you can also sit on the floor if you prefer, so you can see. Good morning. So, friends, as you heard, we have the UUA president, Reverend Sofia, with us this morning. And as most of you know, last Sunday in RE, you spent some time thinking of questions that you would like to ask to get to know Reverend Sofia a little better. So I have some questions. They wrote very deep questions, I thought. So we'll start maybe with one of the easy ones. Inquiring minds would like to know, Reverend Sophia, what is your favorite color?
So like a good Unitarian Universalist, I don't have one answer to this question. So if I may, my two favorite colors, please forgive me, are green and purple.
Awesome. There were a few animal questions. So they would also like to know, what's your favorite animal and do you have a pet?
So the favorite animal, also hard, but I thought about this and decided that my favorite animal is a llama, and has been for a long time. So I knit and crochet and do fiber arts, and I just love a whole bunch of animals who hopefully we treat really, really well when we do some of those crafts. But llamas have beautiful eyes, and they protect an entire flock, and they come from my ancestral lands, so llamas.
Nice. I also see that we have
Oh.
some other crocheters in the group.
Excellent. And I forgot, I have 2 cats and a dog in my house. Puddle is a cat, Jasper is a cat, and Lichen is a dog.
Oh, very nice names. Hi. So they also noticed that you're a reverend doctor, and they wondered how long it took you to study for all that.
Oh, a long time, a long time. Here's my advice is don't do it all in a row, which I didn't. Part of why it took me 10 years to do a PhD. It did. I don't recommend that. There are faster ways, but I did 2 degrees, so I had to do all of my requirements in religious ethics and all of my requirements also in African American studies, which meant I was in school forever.
Okay, those were the warm-ups.
Yep, it's all good.
So our pre-K through first grade group has been talking a lot about feelings, and they would like to know what you do when you're feeling sad.
This is a really good question, and I think actually a lot of us have had reason to feel sad lately, right? I know I have. I do a bunch of things. Some of them are things that I do all the time to try to make sure that I can be on top of my feelings. So I have a spiritual director. I have a meditation practice. Believe it or not, I try to sleep enough. I promise you, your parents did not ask me to say that, but for me at my age, it is true. And when I'm really sad, I try to actually give myself time to be sad, to think about why I'm sad. And when it's appropriate, to be with other people that I can talk to about my sadness.
Thank you. So our second to fifth grade group has recently read this book, Something Beautiful. And in it, a young girl is searching through her neighborhood for what she calls a something beautiful. That's something that reminds her of everything that's really important and joyful in life. And they wondered if you have a something beautiful and what that is.
Again, I have a lot of something beautifuls, but what is on my spirit this morning, partly dear friends of mine who I consider family, we're going to talk a little bit very, very briefly about family of choice later today, recently had a baby, and that baby is 4 months old. I can tell there's some shared family here in the front. So when I tell you that today my something beautiful is the video I got yesterday of this 4-month-old, really mad that it was tummy time, but chewing on a ball with delight, all at the same time. And the complexity and the agency and the irritation and the perfectness are my something beautiful today.
Aww. So that same group, the second to fifth graders, wondered what you believe about God.
This is such an important question. So let me preempt it by saying one of the things that I love about Unitarian Universalism is that we all have our own understanding about God and what that means. I have had a lot of really intense experiences of something larger than me in my life that I can't perfectly explain to you. And I certainly am not looking for anyone else to tell me what that means, right? I think part of what we get out of being all together is trying to think about those experiences and stories. But I also know that the word God has been used to try to tell people what to believe and what to do. So I have very important experiences for myself of something larger that reminds me of family and love and who I want to be and how I want to be in the world. And I also think of God as a metaphor for whatever calls us into being. And I think both things can be true at the same time.
Thank you. Okay, final question. This is from our junior and senior high group, and they had some challenging questions about challenges. They wondered how you make challenging decisions And what's the most challenging issue you've had to deal with?
I feel like that second half changes every day. So I've only been in my job for 5 months is a thing I want you to know. But how do I deal with challenging issues? Honestly, never alone. Never alone. I think we are all impacted by our emotions and our feelings like we've been talking about. And sometimes what you're feeling in the moment can impact what you believe in that moment and might not actually be what you believe for the long haul. So I try to be in conversation with people who are smarter than me. Highly recommend this to you. That's why I'm lucky to work with the UUA staff. And also to be in conversation with myself. Do any of you talk to yourselves? I definitely do. Okay. To be in conversation with myself about the things that I know I believe and the things I've experienced and what they might teach me about the thing that is challenging. Okay? So I want to be clear that what I'm about to say is hard, but it's true. Right now, the most challenging thing for me, the thing that's keeping me up at night, is violence around the world and how it's impacting Unitarian Universalists as we try to talk about what we think and what we believe, and how we want to show up in solidarity for people who are in harm's way. So there's no question what our values are about showing up in solidarity for people in harm's way, but sometimes the cause of that kind of challenge is so long-term and so difficult that you can almost have a different opinion about what it means and how to deal with it for as many people as you have in the room. And we joke about this as UUs, that, we have so many opinions in the room, but it's really serious around things like violence and oppression and war. So it's very challenging how we make sure we do not lose each other in how we talk about really difficult things is not only very much on my heart, but is at the center of my ministry right now. And thank you for asking me a really hard question.
Thank you. And though we're out of questions, I did want to leave a brief moment if there was anything else you wanted to say or add, but no pressure also.
Well, I want to say that the last time I was in your congregation was 20 years ago. I think. Let's call that a ballpark. But it was at least about 20 years ago, and it was around when you first created a drum chapter here. I think you were either the first or one of the first congregations to do that, and I've never forgotten it. I came to a drum retreat and was excited to be here and to see what your ministry looked like, and I'm so excited to be back. And so I want to say that I have carried you in my heart for 20 years as a congregation that has lived its ministry and its welcome in concrete ways. I just want to thank you for that witness and that model. And I know that sometimes makes ministry harder. It does, and it matters. Thank you for your mission in Unitarian Universalism. It means everything to me.
And thank you. Can we have a round of applause for those answers and for brilliant questions from our children and youth?
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much. Okay, friends, if you could stand up with me, we'll lead the congregation in our affirmation. I need your hands. And we'll say it first in English and then in Spanish. We are Unitarian Universalists, a people of open minds, loving hearts, and welcoming hands. Somos unitarios universalistas, personas de mentes abiertas, corazones amorosos, y manos que dan la bienvenida. And now I would like to invite any of the children and youth who would like to join me and their other leaders out on the patio. We'll head to religious education.
What a beautiful and nourishing conversation. So I have a few special announcements for us this morning. The first is just a reminder that each Sunday we have pastoral care lay ministers who are available after the service on the patio to receive your joys or your sorrows, to offer a listening ear. This morning's lay minister is Mary Ann Harper, and she is wearing a colorful scarf. I want to invite you, Mary Ann is right there in the back. I want to invite you to join us for a Thanksgiving Eve gratitude service and potluck in Bard Hall this Wednesday, November 22nd at 5:30 p.m. If you're able, we invite you to bring a dish to share, and if you wish, you could bring a reading about gratitude to offer during our service. Reverend Justine and I look forward to breaking bread with you. So I have a very exciting pledge update to share. Yeah, ooh, that's the response I was looking for. So as of November 18th, we have received 282 pledges totaling $710,349. Now, this number of pledges represents 80% of all of those who are eligible to pledge, and so we're moving towards that goal of 100% participation. So I want to thank you so much for your shared commitment, for your generosity, for helping fund the mission of this church. And I also want to say there's still time. So if you haven't filled out your pledge card, we want to get to that goal of 100%, and we'd love to be able to celebrate next week. Today is the day, my friends, to turn in your pledge. So one way that we live our values as a congregation is by sharing our offering with local organizations working for justice. This month, our offering is being shared with the Refugee Health Alliance. This organization brings free health care to vulnerable people, the majority being families at the border who are seeking asylum. Now, yesterday, 20 of us actually went down to the border, to an area between the border walls where humanitarian aid is being offered and where these doctors are actually providing care for people who are in crisis. Now, these renowned doctors and specialists from around the world are volunteers, and they work under the guidance of local leadership. They bring this expertise to complex health needs, and they also help people when they're in their immigration proceedings by providing letters about their health. So we just want to thank you so much for supporting this life-saving work. You can donate this morning here in person by using the credit card dip jar, by cash or check using the donation box. If you'd like assistance, please raise your hand. You can also always donate online on our church's website. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received.
So beautiful. Thank you. And now let us take a moment. Let us enter into a time of meditation or prayer. I invite you to get comfortable in whatever position that might be. If you wish, take a deep breath in and just, let's try. Let your eyes shut if you'd like, and be at ease. Listen for a moment to the sounds of this sanctuary. Let yourself acknowledge that you are surrounded by love. Breathe in, and as you breathe in, know you are breathing in love. As you exhale, peace. Breathing in love. Breathing out, peace. In the stillness of this moment, let us continue to breathe in love and breathe out peace, in and out, peace, in and out, peace. May it be so. Om, Shalom, Salam, Shanti, Amen. For all of you who'd like, you can open your eyes.
in, waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence in the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence in the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in.
Thank you, choir. Again, I'm the Reverend Dr. Sofia Betancourt. I use she, her pronouns. De nuevo, soy la Reverenda Doctora Sofia Betancourt y uso el pronombre ella. Our reading this morning is We Find Salvation Here by the Reverend Deanna Vandiver, who serves our Unitarian Universalist Service Committee in the College of Social Justice. Throughout time, our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition has held a thread of clarity. How we relate to each other creates the conditions of hell or heaven here on earth. We may not know or agree about what lies beyond this life, but it is our conviction that our actions and our inactions have consequences for the web of all existence. While fascinating and mysterious, we do not place our hopes for salvation in what happens after death. We find it here on earth, showing up for each other with mercy, respect, and compassion. How are we relating to our neighbors, friends? As a people of faith, we are called to a love that is bold, to love beyond our skill and through our fear with courage and compassion. As a faithful collective, we are called to offer sanctuary, refuge, and comfort to anyone afflicted by systems of oppression in this world. As faithful individuals, we are called to relationships of care and accountability. And it makes a difference in the quality of this world when people with access to privilege and power give voice to a vision of collective liberation and name the obstacles within and without that limit us. Can we choose to live courageously, a people of faith, a people so bold? Can we faithfully challenge evil in the world and the sins of society that become internalized within our beings? Our faith does not require that we be unafraid, only that we do not lead from fear or make decisions from that place of fear. Our presence matters. How we relate to each other creates the conditions of hell or heaven here on earth. May we remember and affirm that we are all in this together, friends. We are all in this together.
I hadn't planned on saying anything this morning, but don't tempt me with a moment to fill in the service. Thank you to the Jewel Tones for sharing that beautiful piece with us. The Chalice Choir is making their way up to sing a piece now by Rosephine Powell. Reverend Sofia said before, we're living in challenging and complicated times. And in this piece, Rosephine Powell takes a simple message. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are people in this world who work to make peace.
Thank you, musicians. Thank you, choir. Beautiful music today. Believe it or not, tomorrow marks 1 week since I arrived in your beautiful city. I got to my hotel room with minutes, bare minutes to spare, and logged into our UUA board meeting, a space I'm delighted to share with Reverend Justine, who serves our faith so ably and well. Rushing to get to that meeting on time meant I wasn't paying a great deal of attention to the resort where I had just arrived. And after 2 hours of meaningful online conversation about the workings of our faith, I emerged into a space that was clearly designed to make visitors feel special. There were fire circles all around the campus with cozy chairs around them. There were restaurants filled with the promise of good nourishment. There were swimming pools all along the path that I could see, and we were surrounded by the very palm trees and flowers I used to take for granted when I lived in Northern California. And I laughed, thinking how just that morning I had to scrape the ice off my windshield in Maryland for the first time this season. That's a transition point that you don't miss. I was in a space calculated to make me feel at ease, to feel cared for and at rest, that hopefully might even allow a bit of time for reflection or even growth. And then I turned a corner and I got to this open space, this lawn where the tables looked like flaming chalices in the night. I could not make this up. Right? They were small banquet rounds with black coverings tied tight into a chalice shape with just one single votive candle on the top of each table. None of that, actually, is what spoke to my spirit. Because around those tables, sitting in groups and wandering to grab food and greet one another, were a significant portion of the over 60 members of Trust, transgender, religious, professional, Unitarian Universalists together, who had gathered here this week for a time of connection and retreat. Over 60 beloveds who yet were less than half. Can we celebrate that? Less than half of the membership of Trust today were all in one place, gathering in person for the first time in 4 years. And there was no question in my mind that I had arrived into a space defined by communal care. And I felt profoundly humbled as a cisgender visitor, trusted enough to be invited into that sacred gathering. Now, I already knew and loved a large number of my colleagues who gathered in San Diego this week, right? LGBTQIA plus community, queer community. We have a tendency to stick together when we're at our best, right? We build families of solidarity and choice as an act of survival and radical welcome. And I was thrilled to be in shared space with loved ones again. But it was the palpable presence of an intention set by this retreat that most struck me, and I wanted to share it with all of you. See, I heard again and again in this gathering that the intention to be the most welcoming and accessible space in all of Unitarian Universalism serves as the driving value behind decisions made for how this group of beloveds gathers in community. Right? It extended to how we accessed food, shared rides, set up the room, avoided scented products, used microphones consistently, learned names and pronouns and family histories, how we masked in indoor spaces and tested every morning for COVID-19. I experienced the dedication to care in how we checked in with one another, how we prioritized radical consent for everything, how we made sure newcomers were fully included in our plans even when we scattered, and how we prioritized time for rest. I think some of you at least have to have been at UU retreats that are scheduled more tightly than our work days. This list honestly could go on, and what mattered most was that there was room for everyone to feel that their needs were a priority, right? A priority, not necessarily perfectly met, but even with the limitations of the space we were in and the things we inevitably still needed to learn. The ethic of care was everywhere. And I knew without question that this was a reflection of the beloved community we long for, right? We've been working toward for decades. I want to invite you to take a breath with me and think about what helps you to know that you are in a space where you are loved, where you can be included and cared for, where others will inspire your growth and in turn be inspired by you. When do you know that you are in community without a doubt? During the campaign season, when my primary work was that of meeting Unitarian Universalists around the country and talking about what calls me to serve as president of your Unitarian Universalist Association, I spent a lot of time talking about communal care. Right? This idea is not a new one, and it isn't flashy in any way, but I am asked to this day what the heck I mean by those words. Right? I believe to my bones that communal care lives at the heart of what we mean when we say that the Unitarian Universalist Association will actively engage its members, like you, in the transformation of the world through liberating love. For me, communal care is the living promise of faith communities, and it encompasses all that we offer to each other, all that might come into being because of our choice to freely associate together over time. It's idea that comes from activists who teach us to better our lives through acts of compassion for each other. And in our communities and congregations, I think we know communal care, at least we feel it, through interdependence. Right? It is a multi-generational commitment. That's my brain speaking for me. I meant to say it's a multi-directional commitment, which it also is, right? One that seeks to minimize the impact of historical inclusion, to build beloved community that can hold us in our living. And in these times, it's critical that we invest in greater equity for how those relationships best serve all UUs, all people, all beings. I think all of Unitarian Universalist life can be thought of in this way. Right? Communal care is how we work for justice. It's how we teach one another and learn together. It's how we resource and support our faith. And it is found in small acts that tie communities together, just as it's found in the seemingly impossible, giant imagination that we hold for the future, right? Visions that can only be realized across generations. Are your hopes for this faith that big? Mine are. Communal care asks us to become good ancestors, to provide a foundation of love and justice that will sustain those who are yet to come. It is the very scaffolding that our covenants rest on. Now, I can hear my staff saying, okay, Sofia, that's fine. What is communal care really? I get this in meetings. I'm smiling at Rhiannon, yeah? How do we call it into being, right? How do we not just hold it as another lovely idea that may never really come to pass? When I wrestle with this question for myself, I turn to the lived examples of communities that have long prioritized collective care for the well-being of all. Leah Lakshmi Piepsna Samarasinha is a favorite author of mine. She describes herself as a chronically ill, disabled writer, a queer woman of color writer, a chronically ill femme. She writes about the evils of late-stage capitalism and its expectation of nonstop productivity. And she writes beautifully, poetically, of the depth of artistry and wisdom that emerges from her because of the amount of time that she spends writing in bed. This fierce activist wrote a book called Care Work, Dreaming Disability Justice. And in it, she shares generously the kinds of care collectives that exist in disabled community, in queer and BIPOC community, and that I was just blessed by experiencing on Retreat with Trust. For her, care collectives are based in reciprocity, right, in exchange with one another, and in radical trust, where everyone contributes what they can, and they're not assumed to be without value or unable to be full members of community if their ability to offer care takes a different shape from that of someone else. She writes about fair trade economies of care, which makes my heart swell. Fair trade economies of care and how they are like permaculture, where care becomes an ongoing ecosystem and where what is grown responds to need. I'm convinced that spiritual community, that Unitarian Universalist community can live into nurturing this kind of permaculture, that we can nourish and grow that which is most needed for our collective thriving by continually considering how we are in relationship with one another and living into the promise of our shared values in community. Right? How we relate to each other creates the conditions of hell or heaven here on earth, as the Reverend Deanna Vandiver teaches us. We are in this together. Now, in this week, as we prepare for a season of gratitude, I am aware that our time in community is rightly impacted by the targeting of our transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming beloveds for violence and oppression in this country and around the world. It is rightly impacted by the immense violence against innocent civilians in Israel, in Palestine. It is rightly impacted by the months-long atrocities in Sudan. There are more examples of human failures that I could name, but what I will say instead is that communities of care provide us with the courage of heart and mind to stay present to the evils of the world. Please don't hear me saying that you can never turn away. That is not what I mean. Right? We have to regulate our bodies and our beings for our health, but that instinct to turn away before it hurts does not serve our world community. Communities of care give us the courage of heart and mind to stay present to the challenges of this life. They offer others who can bear witness to such pain with us and remind us that our teachings on human goodness, on the possibilities of beloved community, are religious values that we do not have to carry alone. We carry them together. Right? Communities of care make real the covenants, the agreements on which our faith rests, and they strengthen us for the long journey toward justice and peace. As our colleague, the Reverend Victoria Safford, writes, a covenant is not a contract. It's not made and signed and sealed once and for all, sent to the attorneys for safekeeping, or guarded under glass in a museum. A covenant is not a static artifact. It's not a sworn oath. A covenant is a living, breathing aspiration made new every day. It can't be enforced by consequences, but it may be reinforced by forgiveness, by grace when we err, when we forget, when we frankly mess it up. Safford reminds us of the life-sustaining fluency of covenant, and it is that fluency that I offer us today as hope, as possibility, as prayer for the days and years ahead. How do we want to serve the world as Unitarian Universalist communities of care? What do you know of what folks outside of our communities and congregations who are looking for this exact kind of covenant and connection might need in order to feel safe enough, inspired enough to join us in this everyday search for truth and meaning. Because this religious life that we share is freely chosen, a benefit and blessing both, to become more than we could ever be or ever imagine on our own, and we live into our covenants every day. So communal care is both a faith practice and a type of countercultural resistance. How many messages do you get out in the world to prioritize care? It actually breaks my heart. Right? Now, I would be so remiss if I did not pause to celebrate how you, First UU Church of San Diego, are marking 150 years as a community of care. Praise be. This covenant, to create community, to nurture spiritual growth, to act on your values in service of healing the world, a century and a half of profound witness, is not only worthy of celebration, it's an important example of the kind of permaculture that Leah Lakshmi Piepsna Samarasinha writes about. I love that your written history includes the image of seeding the 5 other Unitarian Universalist communities in San Diego County. I love that this congregation is modeling communal life across 2 campuses and living its dedication to promoting justice and care in real ways. I know we get trapped in our minds, beloved, but it is not just our ideas that are our religious values. It is showing up for each other. It is bringing sandwiches and hot chocolate. It is sticking together for the long haul. Now, you do all of this, I can't leave without saying, while being one of the most generous contributors to the annual program fund of our UUA. Right? Your generosity helps our hardworking national staff, some of whom are sprinkled through the sanctuary, to make the missional work of the UUA possible. Thank you for that ministry. I know that life in community is not always easy. I've been painting a pretty picture of community and care. Right? It's not always easy, and that periodically we need to reassess our commitments, to deepen our engagement with our values, and to move forward together in new and sometimes surprising ways. I want to thank the Reverend Justine Sullivan and the gifted staff of this congregation, right, for the stellar developmental ministry that you not only share, but are modeling to this faith, to this movement. I have every faithful expectation that you will continue to live into the proud history of this community with grace and provide a living example to our tradition of how we stay in it for the long haul. There is a profound blessing in choosing to come back to life again and again as the needs of community reassert themselves and we commit to each other anew. Recordar, reflexionar, realizar, may you remember the profound gifts brought to bear in this community over the past 150 years. May you have the time and spaciousness to reflect on all that calls you forward as Unitarian Universalists in freely chosen community. May you together realize the very best of your dreaming, no matter how outlandish it may seem today. Know that Unitarian Universalists across the country and the globe are in this sacred work with you. May we meet one another in the spirit of care and together witness for a world transformed through liberating love. May it be so. Amen. Ashe. And blessed be.
with that spirit of hope, that shining future in front of us. Let us sing together. We invite you to rise as body and spirit allow.
Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Now there'll be freedom in that land.
Yes, there'll be freedom in that land.
There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land.
There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound.
Go with me to that land.
Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound.
Come and go with me to that land. Come and go
With me to that land. Come and go with me to that land
where I'm
Oh, beloveds, we are on a journey together. When times are tough, I invite you to come back into this collected love, this joy, this possibility, this covenant, this care. May this congregation, this community, this faith strengthen you for the journey ahead. We need every one of you. We are proud to journey with you. May we continue for another 150 years together. Amen.
We extinguish our chalice in memory of all our transgender siblings killed in the past year. As we leave this space, please take the ribbon that you were handed as you entered this space and bring it outside, and you'll be instructed where to tie your ribbon onto the trellis over by Bard Hall.